In the folklore of the American West, one name stands above the rest. To some, he was a hero, a Southern gentleman who fought against the big banks and greedy railroads. A man who stole from the rich and gave to the poor. The American Robin Hood. To others, he was a monster. A cold-blooded murderer who shot unarmed cashiers, derailed trains filled with innocent passengers, and never gave a dime to anyone but himself. His name was Jesse Woodson James. He is the most famous outlaw in American history. But the story you know is likely a liar myth created by newspapers to sell copies. Today, we are going to peel back the legend. We will look at the violence, the politics, and the betrayal to answer the ultimate question: was Jesse James a hero of the people, or was he just a terrorist with a good publicist? Jesse James wasn't born a criminal. He was forged in the fire of the American Civil War. He grew up in Missouri, a border state torn apart by the war. His family were fierce supporters of the South. At the tender age of 16, Jesse didn't join the regular army. He joined the bushwhackers. These were guerrilla fighters who didn't fight on battlefields. They fought in backyards. They ambushed Union soldiers, burned farms, and executed neighbors. Jesse rode with a man named Bloody Bill Anderson, a psychopath who decorated his horse's saddle with the scalps of Union soldiers. This is crucial to understand. Jesse James learned to kill before he learned to shave. He was traumatized, brutalized, and taught that violence was the only political language. When the South lost the war in 1865, Jesse didn't surrender. He was an angry young man with no skills other than shooting. So, he decided to keep fighting the war. By other means, in 1866, the first daylight bank robbery in U.S. peacetime history happened in Liberty, Missouri. Though unproven, it is believed Jesse was there. A bystander, a college student, was shot dead in the street. This was the beginning of the James Younger Gang. The gang was a family affair. It included Jesse, his stoic brother Frank James, and the tough as nails younger brothers, Cole, Jim, and Bob. They targeted banks and, more famously, trains. But here is the reality check. They weren't polite thieves. During a robbery in Gallatin, Jesse shot the cashier in the head simply because he thought the man looked like a Union officer who had killed his former commander. It was a revenge killing, not a robbery. So, how did a guy who murdered bank tellers become a beloved national hero? Enter the most important man in Jesse's life, not a gunman, but a writer. His name was John Newman Edwards. Edwards was a newspaper editor who hated the Northern government. He wanted to create a symbol of Southern resistance. He found his symbol in Jesse James. Edwards wrote articles painting Jesse not as a criminal, but as a victim. He described Jesse as a noble knight, forced into a life of crime by a cruel government. Jesse loved the fame. He actually started leaving press releases at crime scenes for the newspapers to print. What about the Robin Hood myth? The story goes that Jesse paid off a poor widow's mortgage with stolen money, then robbed the banker who came to collect it. The truth is, there is exactly zero historical evidence that Jesse James ever gave money to the poor. He stole from the rich, yes, but he kept the money for himself, buying fine horses and tailored suits. The banks and railroads had enough. They hired the Pinkerton National Detective Agency to hunt the gang down. But the Pinkertons made a fatal mistake. On the night of January 26, 1875, Pinkerton agents surrounded the James family farm. Thinking Jesse was inside, they threw an incendiary device through the window. Jesse wasn't there, but his mother Zerelda and his 80-year-old half-brother were. The explosion killed the little boy and blew off his mother's arm. The public was outraged. 3. The government had bombed a mother and killed a child. Overnight, support for Jesse skyrocketed. He was now seen as a martyr fighting against a tyrannical system. A bill was even introduced in the Missouri legislature to grant him amnesty. Feeling invincible, the gang decided to go for one big score. They rode north to Northfield, Minnesota to rob the First National Bank. It was September 7th, 1876. But the citizens of Northfield weren't like the people in Missouri. They weren't afraid. When the robbery started, the townspeople grabbed their hunting rifles and rocks. They fought back. It was a massacre. 2 of the outlaws were killed in the street. The younger brothers were shot to pieces. Cole Younger was shot 11 times, but survived, and were captured. Jesse and Frank were the only ones who escaped. The James Younger gang was destroyed. Jesse went into hiding, living a quiet life under the name Thomas Howard. But he missed the action. By 1882, Jesse was 34 years old. His old friends were dead or in jail. He had 2 new, unreliable recruits. 2 of these recruits were brothers, Charlie and Robert Ford. Robert Ford didn't want to be an outlaw. He wanted the $10,000 reward on Jesse's head. He made a secret deal with the governor. On the morning of April 3rd, 1882, inside Jesse's home, the legendary outlaw did something he never did. He took off his gun belt. It was a hot day. Jesse noticed a dusty picture on the wall. He stood up on a chair to straighten it. His back was turned. Robert Ford saw his chance. He drew his revolver and shot Jesse in the back of the head. The legend didn't die in a shootout. He died dusting a picture frame. Robert Ford expected to be a hero. Instead, America hated him. They called him the dirty little coward who shot Mr. Howard. Jesse James remains a complicated figure. Was he a Robin Hood? No. He was a vicious killer and a thief who looked out for number 1. But he was also a product of a broken Nasuna man who refused to be conquered when the war ended. We love the legend because we love the idea of the rebel. But never forget, if you met the real Jesse James on a train, you wouldn't ask for an autograph, you'd hand over your wallet and pray. What do you think? Was he a villain or a victim? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.